Hello, hello. Check 1 2 1 2. There I go. Okay. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Formula One first weekend of 2023. Practice one happening in just about 25 minutes, and we've been finally. We've been waiting for this for months, haven't we? And it's eagerly anticipated beginning of the Formula One season, and it's finally it's finally today, isn't it? And today is the start, not the Grand Prix itself, but the start of the season, really. First practice, we said, starting in about 25 minutes. We will start to see exactly how these cars are all sort of shaping up and what we can sort of expect from the various teams throughout the weekend. Before we sort of get to start talking about a couple of the things sort of wrapping up the week's chat, please do smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. A lot of new faces in and around the channel that we're seeing. So hopefully we'll see even more F1 fans really start to get involved and come and join us on this journey as we really get stuck into the F1 season. And let's have a look at some of the sort of the news from the week, shall we? Now, first of all, the nice thing about sort of the first practice is really it's an opportunity to see where the various teams are. Obviously, we saw testing last weekend. But testing and practice is very different. Testing is a lot about getting data. It's about sort of seeing what's working, what's not working. It's about trying a few things. Now we are finally sort of putting the final touches on the various sort of car setups. It's about finding out what's going to work, what's not going to work, how to prep their car for the track, how to make sure they can sort of ease out every last bit of performance to try and get a result come Sunday. And it is going to be an exciting race. And in terms of the cars to watch out for, Red Bull. They're the standard, aren't they? They are the gold standard. Max Verstappen defending his title again, and very much an undisputed title last year. Obviously, 2021 quite controversial with the events that happened at Abu Dhabi, but last year there could be no denying the brilliance that was Max Verstappen and that car of Red Bull, which was just could not be touched. The top three teams were in another league last year. They were sometimes even lapping the fourth team, and basically only 7 cars finished on the same lap. So we cannot make that kind of step only in one winter. I think we are very happy with the car, but we have to keep our feet on the ground and keep working on this good baseline. Now, the nice thing about having a Fernando Alonso is give him the tools, he'll give you the results at the end of the day. He goes and starts really well. I personally think that this Aston Martin car could hopefully start to compete. And so, I do think that Fernando Alonso is going to make a big difference to his Aston Martin team. And not to say that Sebastian Vettel wasn't getting everything out of it, but we saw Alonso last year in a car that shouldn't have even been anywhere near where he was. He was still overtaking people. He was still attacking, teams, and he's still got it at the end of the day. He's still very much capable of competing with the top guys. And I think that he's still got that sort of competitor's edge that he really wants to push. He really wants to compete. So hopefully he can, and hopefully this Aston Martin can sort of put themselves in there in the runnings and really sort of put pressure on some of the sort of mid-tier teams and try and push themselves into maybe that top 4 in the coming months and stuff like that. Mercedes is obviously going to be one to watch, and they were a bit disappointed last week. And some people sort of thinking, well, maybe they're holding something back, maybe they've got something that they can add. We're going to find out this weekend, aren't we? And hopefully today will be a little bit of an indication of how much they were holding back versus what the car actually has. And we don't know what the car really has. And so, and I think also Lewis Hamilton himself is going to have to really step up this season because he was outclassed last year by George Russell. Not even about the whole Verstappen issue. The fact that his teammate was racing faster than means there's a lot of pressure on the 7-time world champion. But he has remained committed to Mercedes. This was what he had to say earlier in the year. Speaking to some of the media in Bahrain, he said, "I'm a fighter and we fight as a team. I love the challenge of finding solutions, and I still believe I'm able to put the car in places that perhaps others are not able to, and I love that challenge. Of course, I wish to be starting the season with a great car, but it's the journey I think that really counts. There's no hold up with our contract. I've always been very, very relaxed, and I don't feel like I need to get it done right this second. I have a great relationship with Toto and Mercedes, and we fully support each other. I'm really excited about the future together and the work we're doing on and off the track." Now, it's interesting because obviously right now, you're going to back Lewis Hamilton and you're not going to look to replace him anytime soon. But we are talking about someone who is not very young. He's not old by any means. He's 38, so he's getting on in years. He's just turned 38. But I mean, you think that Fernando Alonso, for example, is still racing at close to his peak at 41, turning 42 this year, means you could still have another season or two of Lewis Hamilton. But there's inevitably must be a bit of a search going on within Mercedes for who replaces Lewis Hamilton. How do we replace Lewis Hamilton? How do you replace someone who's given you so much success over the years? Now, I think George Russell is obviously set to become the #1 driver, and why not? I think he's a proper driver. I really do think that he's got everything he needs to be a world champion. I think you give him a world championship car, and I think he could deliver. And he's 25 years old. He's just turned 25 as well, so he's got a full decade ahead of him if he wants to within the sport. So plenty of time for him to really make that step up. But Mercedes will definitely be monitoring younger drivers, academy drivers, and looking for that person who's going to then move into the team. Obviously, sort of checking out what Williams is doing and stuff like that, and sort of really lining up the Lewis Hamilton replacement. And put it this way, I personally would not like to be the man that replaces Lewis Hamilton in Mercedes, because whilst all the pressure also more translates to George Russell, you are still the person now sitting in Lewis Hamilton's car when that person comes up. So it's going to be interesting. And if we look at, for example, the reserve drivers, they do have Mick Schumacher there. So we talk about the expectation and the person to come in. Well, Mick Schumacher is around, and could you imagine that? When you think of how Lewis Hamilton has competed, against his dad's records, never competed against his dad that much, really, when he's sort of in their peak, but competing against his records certainly. And now, last season we saw that Nick de Vries was around and Stoffel van Dorn, but de Vries will now be driving at AlphaTauri, and Van Dorn is Aston Martin's reserve. And as a result, Mick Schumacher, after leaving Haas, which I think some people are saying was a bit harsh, as they say, I think he's going to learn a lot this season. I think he's going to be sitting there next to two of the best drivers, one of the best drivers ever, and hopefully he can really lean on that experience to take his racing up to another gear, so that when he gets an opportunity, he can sort of really step in. And reserve drivers as a concept is very interesting, because you've got to have a good reserve driver. And I think especially during COVID, we saw how important having a reserve driver is when drivers were testing positive and people were being swapped in, swapped out. So, you've got to have a good reserve driver. And before we sort of talk about anything sort of more, in terms of reserve drivers, Red Bull has Danny Ricciardo in the garage as the reserve driver. And so it's very sad not to see Daniel Ricciardo on the grid. It is very sad. I mean, my heart bleeds for the guy. I don't think that, the McLaren car really backed up his talent. We're talking about someone who's won Grand Prix, who's won many a Grand Prix. I personally think he could have been someone who could have won a championship. So for him to have not sort of had any which have gone is a bit frustrating. I mean, you feel that he's good enough to be on the grid. There's definitely drivers that are taking in seats this year that are not as good as Daniel Ricciardo. But if he gets an opportunity in that Red Bull, how exciting would that be? And I suppose maybe that's kind of the trade-off, isn't it? Yes, we're not going to see Daniel Ricciardo week in, week out. But if we do see Daniel Ricciardo, we're going to see him in the quickest car on the grid. And that is a very exciting prospect to see. Does he still have it? Was it a McLaren issue? Was it a Ricciardo issue? Because Lando Norris pulled in a couple of good results last year and was very much outperforming. But I don't think that Daniel Ricciardo felt very comfortable in the team. I don't think he ever really sort of settled in. And that definitely played a role. There's no doubt about it. So hopefully we can get back to a smiling Daniel Ricciardo, a happy Daniel Ricciardo. And when he gets his chance, I'd really like to see him take it. And Checo Perez has been doing some amazing things. But at the end of the day, if Ricciardo kind of sort of steps in and competes, then you've got something going right. Well, now what do we do now? But so who are we supporting, by the way? That's sort of the big that's the big question, is it? and who we back into sort of get. We've got a poll running, and the poll is asking who will be fastest in the practice. And at the moment, Red Bull is being backed, then Mercedes, then Ferrari. And 9% of people are reckoning somebody else might be the fastest. So I like that optimism. I like the energy. I admire the energy. But let's talk about the fastest, shall we? Max Verstappen, who is well ahead. And he said, and this is quite a frightening prospect, he said, and I quote, "They have absolutely made improvements to the 2023 car, but must remain calm and realistic as they defend their titles." Don't you just love that, the concept of calm and realistic? Because, yeah, at the end of the day, what's real? I mean, realistic. Anything that's not winning the Formula One championship is not realistic, because they've got to. They've got to go on and to win it. And to chat a little bit more about it is going to be Mark, who's going to be stepping in here very shortly. And he will be taking you through. Reese will be joining him as well a bit later, our two Formula One guys. Because at the end of the day, you know, as much as you guys all do love seeing me, and why not, I've got to get to some other shows. We've got the CVP show starting at 3 o'clock, by the way. So just after the practice wraps up and Reese and sort of Mark come to sort of finish their stint, we will be live for the first installment of the CVP Friday show, which is going to be a lot of fun. So if you're looking for something to do in between the first practice session and the second practice session later, then come and hang out on the channel. Please do subscribe to the channel, by the way. We've gotten like a lot of new faces, which is quite exciting. So if you haven't right now, I'm sure that there are people sitting in those comments that have not subscribed. And don't be that person. You know, don't be that person that just sort of sits as a bit of a ghost and, you know, doesn't get involved. I want you guys in the chat. I want you voting on polls. I want you interacting. At the end of the day, we're only for the fans, by the fans, if we have the fans' input. We're all fans, to be fair. We're all fans. We're not saying that you guys are necessarily fans of us. Obviously, you're fans of me, but fans of the sport, and we want to get your input. And that's why we need you guys voting in the polls, jumping in the comments, letting us know what you guys think. Now, this is some fighting chat, and this is kind of the chat I'd like to see from my Ferrari, a long-term Ferrari fan. Obviously, grew up watching Michael Schumacher. Thought about making the move to Aston Martin to try and make my life a little bit more interesting. But until I see Lance Stroll not sitting in that seat, that might have to be a little bit delayed. But Charles Leclerc, the man who I think really should have fought for a title last season and just had a very bad relationship with the wall, and just didn't really fancy racing on the track, he reckons they can win. He says, and I quote, "From what I can see, it seems Red Bull is a bit ahead, but it's a long season. Our goal is still to win the championship." Also, remember, a new team principal for Ferrari this season. I'm confident. We have great guys in Marinella, and I think we have shown it with big step forward from 2021 to 2022. There were too many mistakes 22. Those mistakes. But we've been very honest with ourselves in order to get better for the season. The target is still to win the title, even if we are starting a bit in the back foot compared to them in terms of performance. I'm sure we can come back. George Russell also talking about the fact that Red Bull are sort of just far ahead at the moment. He said it probably wasn't the smoothest 3 days we'd have hoped for at testing, talking about the Mercedes and the fact that it hasn't really pitched up just yet. But the learning we found is going to put us in a better stead for the weekend. I definitely think it's fair to say Red Bull are in the league of their own this weekend, but it'll probably be a nice fight for second between Ferrari and Aston Martin. How cool to think that Aston Martin is in that fight. And hopefully we can see a bit of a change in the sort of the status quo, really. And as we're getting ready to cross over to Mark, we'll take you through the rest of the session. Him and Reese. A little bit of I think as Mark Brand was saying, all the talk stops now, and that's a very good point. You know, we've talked the entire week. We're going to talk a little bit more. Obviously, we're 20 minutes before the first practice, but I think we are ready to really sort of kick in and get going here. So just sort of waiting for Mark to be ready to come in, and then we'll chat very briefly, and then I'm going to say goodbye and go and prepare for my other show. Whilst Mark will take you through the first practice, we will be live for every single Formula One session. Well, in fact, we're going to be live for every single session. Formula 2, Formula 3. We're going to have live timings on the channel. We're going to have, preview videos jumping up. It's basically going to be, I don't think we're going to find more comprehensive coverage than what we're doing. That's what we're trying to do anyway. We're going to be live throughout the weekend. So this is your one-stop shop for everything Formula One. You don't need to go anywhere else. Why would you go anywhere else when you can come and join the Forever Sports community? I have a Mark who's eventually appeared, and it's difficult to see his in HD because obviously we're sending various singles. But Mark, are you well?
I'm good. Yes, thank you very much. I hope you can hear me first off.
I can hear you. I'm hoping everybody else can hear you. If you can't hear Mark, and you're one of those lucky people, but just let us know in the comments and let us know if you can't hear him. If you can hear him, then great. If you can't hear him, maybe not the worst thing, but it might get a bit boring to look at him without any audio over the next sort of hour. Mark, before I let you go, I've been talking a little bit about the fact that hopefully we might see Aston Martin disrupting the status quo, getting involved with the Ferrari and the Mercedes. Any other teams that you think very quickly I might be interested in? 8% of people reckon that there might be a different team from Red Bull, Ferrari, Mercedes as the fastest in the first practice. So what could some of those teams be?
Well, I mean, of course, you allude to it. Of course, everybody keeps talking about Aston Martin. Everyone thinks it's a very strong car this year. I also think it's a very strong car, and a lot of people are backing Fernando Alonso, as I say, me included. I think Fernando Alonso might well do something this weekend. Of course, Alpine, everybody always never really talks too much about Alpine, but that's a very strong car. And also last year they were particularly strong. So hopefully they also show up today. So I'm backing Aston Martin and Alpine to really challenge the top three there.
Yeah, well, there you go. I was talking about some of the quotes from Fernando Alonso, very much downplaying, I think, the Aston Martin car. Says that we have to stay realistic, and he says that we're not quite there. We're not looking at podiums. But at the end of the day, what I was saying earlier is I think if there's one driver who I think they could have gotten into, extracted every last bit of pace, every last sort of tenth of a second, it probably is Fernando Alonso. We saw him in a weak car last year, still compete. Lance Stroll needs to go as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, I think that's probably where the Aston Martin hype comes in. It's probably about maybe 40% car related, maybe 60% driver related, and just in terms of Fernando Alonso will extract anything he can from that car.
Yeah, and I do think Fernando Alonso is certainly a lot of people's favorites going into the season. Of course, being that of a veteran driver, race for Ferrari and all these things. I mean, he's a particularly fast driver, and he's still really on point. So I think we're all very keen to see how he does this weekend. A lot of people putting a lot of pressure on him in terms of backing him to get a top three and a podium finish this weekend, even though we've barely seen these cars. But we'll find out now. Practice session will start soon, of course, and all of the drivers currently doing their presses, and they've done their presses, and they're all in the pit lanes at the moment, and they are ready to get going for the first practice session of the season. So very, very keen to see how that all goes.
And on that note, I'm going to leave you to enjoy that. I've got beers to get cold for my show because that's what I'm all about. So you guys can go be serious about some Formula One. I'm going to prepare the lagers, enjoy the practice, and we will see. Well, for everybody else who enjoys the Formula One, you might not see me as much this weekend. You'll probably see more of Mark, so I'm lucky. But you will see me at 3 o'clock live on the channel, as well as at some rugby as well. So multi-sport offering from Forever Sports. But for now, from Formula One, I'm going to leave you with this guy over here, and myself, I'm going to say goodbye and see you soon.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much, Steve, for handling that earlier there. And well, everybody, welcome. Hello, my name is Mark. I'm very glad to join you on the stream today. We are watching Formula One. It's Grand Prix race weekend in Bahrain, practice session 1. Please spam in the comments who you're supporting, who's your favorite drivers, etc., etc. Please sure to like the video, give us a like. Please do. Of course, we want to try and make sure the stream keeps going, and the only way we keep it going is if you guys all like, comment, and do watch us, of course. So very, very keen for your involvement. Ask me some questions. I'm very keen to engage in some discussions. And that's the whole point of this channel. We are a fan channel. We are watching along with you all. The idea is that we're going to commentate, and we're going to watch all of the Grand Prix this year unfold and see exactly what's what and discuss it and just give our own opinions about things. So very keen to see the season, of course. We're starting off in Bahrain. So just a couple of need-to-know facts, important facts, stats, and some trivia just ahead of the 2023 Grand Prix, of course. The first Grand Prix that it held was in 2004, so quite a while ago. And it has changed quite a bit since then, the track. They used to do it the endurance racing circuit, which a lot of people didn't like. It didn't really allow for as much overtaking as the current circuit does, which is really, really good for overtaking now. It's certainly one of my favorite races of the calendar. and of course a night race, one of the few. And so it's quite a spectacle to watch. Of course, practice sessions and otherwise don't actually happen during the night and during the evening, but the race itself will happen during the evening on Sunday, of course, and we will be watching along with you for that as well. So just some vital statistics. I will speak English, I'm sure. Some vital statistics here. So the track length is 5.4 kilometers long. The lap record is a 1 minute 31.447 by Pedro de la Rosa in the McLaren MP420 in 2005. So a long time ago that lap record was set. So quite interesting that, of course, hopefully we'll see a new lap record set in the coming years in these new Formula One cars, of course. The most pole positions on this track, it's Lewis Hamilton and Sebastian Vettel, both tied with 3 pole positions each. The most wins, Lewis Hamilton with 5. So Lewis Hamilton does like the circuit, of course. However, it will be quite tough for him this weekend to try and get that win over the line, of course, in that Mercedes, which has not really been performing as of late. So we're going to hope for a change this weekend. We'll see if it does indeed. And whilst we're just looking at the screen here, I've got Oscar Piastri, of course, their champion in all of his different racing career years, of course, for each of his seasons in whatever racing circuit he's been in. He's been a champion so far. So now he's joining Formula One now as part of the McLaren team, who've really been a bit all sorts at the moment. So very keen to see how Oscar Piastri does in his opening weekend in Formula One, of course. We still go back to the track statistics here and things like that, and trivia. Michael Schumacher is the only corner on the circuit with the turn 1 is the Michael Schumacher, is the only corner on the circuit with a name. So first turn is the Michael Schumacher. So very interesting that, of course. So the pole run to turn 1 braking point is 353 meters. So lots of opportunity for people to overtake and to try and utilize that DRS, of course. Overtakes completed in 2022, there are 131 overtakes completed. So that just tells you how good this track is in terms of a good race to watch. Safety car probability, 63%. A lot of accidents tend to happen in Bahrain. Very common that a safety car does come out here. Virtual safety car probability is sitting at about 38%. And the pit stop time loss sits at about 22.5 seconds, including 2.5 seconds stationary, depending on how quick, of course, they do manage to get those pit stops done. So again, another rookie we're looking at here is Logan Sargent, who's been in Formula 2 and Formula 3 for the last 4 years. 2019 in Formula 3 was 19th. Formula 3 in 2020 he was 3rd, then moved up and into Formula 2 last season, where he also did all right, finished about midfield. So Logan Sargent, of course, the only American driver on the circuit, which is huge for the sport. Of course, a lot of Americans now watching Formula 1, and who wouldn't, of course? I mean, they're a bit late to the party, if we're honest. But so there's a couple of other new drivers back on the grid. Of course, is Nico Hulkenberg returning to Formula 1. He's had 181 starts in Formula 1. He's finished on pole once. His best finish was 4th. So he's never finished on the podium. Will he be able to do that this year? It is in a Haas, but unlikely. But we will see, of course. And please do be sure to go and participate in that poll, guys. I'm not joking. Go and share your votes, etc. And also just spam the comments. Who do you think is going to win this weekend? How's practice 1 going to go? Let me know. Do go and say Red Bull is my team and Merc is my team, etc. Why is Ferrari going to win? Why is Ferrari not going to win, etc. I would love to see all of your thoughts. Of course, it's an interactive stream, so do be sure to interact with us. So just talking on the Bahrain track, we've got the driver's verdict. So I'm just going to read you a little passage here. So it's from Julian Palmer, who's a former Renault F1 driver. He says, the most challenging part is probably braking into turn 10, because you're approaching it with a fair amount of speed from the turn 8 hairpin and through the turn 9 kink. And you unload the front left tire as you're turning left. It's easy to lock up. We've seen that so many times. And of course, he's talking about that turn that just comes before the 3rd DRS zone on the track. Of course, this is the only track that's got 3 DRS zones. So it's a really, really good track in terms of making overtake opportunities. So we've got 3 DRS zones. Of course, the start, finish straight. The turns after turn 3, we've got that long DRS zone there again. And then on after turn 10, as he's talking about here. He then goes on to say, turn 11 is a crucial turn because it's fast. It can be quite wind affected there as well. The gust can pick up and you're going through a long radius. So getting the balance right, I think, is particularly tricky. If you're pushing with understeer, you can't get on the throttle. if you're fighting oversteer, it's difficult because you're attacking with a lot of speed and then you're overheating the rear tires through the high speed afterwards as well. So a very complicated little section of the track, of course, that is going from turn 9 to turn 12, being dubbed basically the most complex part of the track. Nonetheless, overtaking opportunities are clear in Bahrain into turn 1 and to turn 4, where the 2 DRS zones end. The other challenge there is the transition from day to night. Of course, this is where we talk about this track being a night track. The track comes alive at night. The car works so much better. And one qualifying lap under the lights feels amazing. So if we just look at the last 5 Grand Prix, the last 5 Bahrain Grand Prix pole sitters. Last year, we had Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari. Will he manage to get that same finish again? Will he finish in that pole position after qualifying this weekend? A lot of people thinking these Red Bulls are looking very strong already. Yeah, we will see. So if we just go through the last 5, it was 2018, Sebastian Vettel in the Ferrari, 2019, Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari, 2020, Lewis Hamilton in the Merc, 2021, Max Verstappen in the Red Bull, and last year, as I say, Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari again. So 3 times Ferrari, 1 times Red Bull, and 1 time Mercedes. The last 5 Bahrain Grand Prix winners, however, is also quite interesting because 2018, pole sitter Vettel did win it in his Ferrari, and then Lewis Hamilton in 2019 won it instead of Charles Leclerc, who was sitting on pole. 2020, Lewis Hamilton again. 2021, Lewis Hamilton again. And then in 2022, Charles Leclerc also finished first after finishing pole in the qualifying session. So an interesting little bit of trivia, of course, that we should talk about Bahrain. It's very interesting to note that it's been ages since a driver's won the Bahrain Grand Prix and gone on to win the Drivers' Championship. They've always come second, almost always. It's very interesting that the fact that if you win the Bahrain Grand Prix, it's almost actually a bit of bad luck because recent time does show us that they do not go on to win the Drivers' Championship, which is, of course, something very significant. Will that change this year? Of course, we will find out. But let's first, of course, see practice session 1 take off, which is going to get underway very, very soon. We are all very excited. First time we're going to see fans looking at these cars and supporting, of course. It's going to be a very full and chock-a-block weekend for Bahrain. Of course, basically the highlight of the year for the city, well, for the country. So the fan view says the signs from Red Bull in testing recently were that the RB19 might be even better than their dominant 2022 car. No surprise that then that the 2-time world champion, I do apologize, Max Verstappen has more than 50% of the votes on the F1 play, well clear of Charles Leclerc at 16% of this. Little support for Lewis Hamilton too, of course. Everybody, there are a lot of fans, of course, for Lewis Hamilton still. So fans tend to take part in these polls more than logic. But we will, of course, love to see how that all fares soon. As I say, now you can just see on my my left here, we've brought up the polls here. And if you just follow the stream here, we will be posting all of their lap times during practice. We will have their best lap time, the gap from the driver in front of them, and their sector 1, sector 2 times, and etc. So we will give all these times for you as we watch. And then just directly above me, you will see the track in its entirety. And the drivers will, of course, appear on that little screen there to show whereabouts they are driving. So very keen to see how this all works out. So strategy and setup keys for the Bahrain Grand Prix. We've got Bernie Collins, who's a former Aston 1 F1 strategist. He has this to say. He says, Bahrain combines very hot conditions with a very rough track surface. Oh, my word. Surface. I do apologize. That means high tire degradation, and that is why hard compounds are supplied by Pirelli, the C1, the C2, and the C3 being selected for 2023 Bahrain, that is. Despite some tire tweaks over the winter, including a new compound, we should still see multiple stop races. The other big effect with tires around the Sakir venue is that the morning and afternoon sessions often lead to very different situations in terms of management. Your hotter sessions, the midday practice 1, that is, so basically today, and practice 3, are going to need slower cool-down laps and slower out laps compared to the twilight timing of practice 2 and qualifying. The new drivers won't be used to that difference yet. So, of course, that's going to be something that experience plays a big key in. Some drivers might not quite understand how the cool-down and slower laps compare at this time of day versus later, of course, in practice 2. So the likes of Logan Sargent, Nick de Vries, and otherwise should be very careful of that exact fact there. On push laps, drivers can often find themselves having a really good sector 1 because they push really hard to begin with, but then it leads to a really bad sector 3. So they might need to balance the lap based on the tires and not immediately take everything out on them. So preservation is key in your lap time rather than just flat out driving, because your tires do take a hit through sector 2 and into sector 3, and you see the times drop in sector 3 as a result. So got to keep those tires fresh throughout the entire lap and just hold back a little bit in sector 1 to keep those tires fresh the entire way around to get the quickest lap possible. So very interesting way of getting the qualifying lap done. So another factor in Bahrain is that there is often a change of wind throughout the day. We saw that happen at the preseason test with headwinds turning into tailwinds. Turn 12 is a good example of where drivers can get caught out. It's uphill, and then as they come around it, there will be a gust of wind and the car becomes a handful. There are other little things, such as different steering wheel dash settings or different brightness for the gear shift lights, and drivers will also sometimes have a daytime and nighttime visor. Also, lots of drivers have moved teams. Given the order of the pit garages and pit boxes, there's always a risk that they stop where they shouldn't. Well, that's just a bit of, basically just a little bit of lack of awareness. I think if drivers should stop in the wrong garages, they should see where their teams are and have a good idea. But we do see it. You do see it sometimes where teams sometimes finds they pit in the wrong one. We saw it with Lewis Hamilton once going into the Merc pit, and we saw it with Vettel as well. So very interesting, of course. So fan views here saying the great news going into 2023 is that we have a real possibility there will be 4 teams going into each race with the firm belief they can go on to get the podium. The new kid on the block is Aston Martin, and Fernando Alonso has really good support here after a terrific race run in testing last weekend. I'm very nervous of this apparent belief that Aston Martin are going to seriously challenge everybody. We've not even seen a single practice session. We've only seen preseason testing, and everybody's saying this Aston Martin is going to be the one to watch. And to be fair, I back it. I do back it. I think this Aston is looking incredible, and I think they've got a very, very good driver in Fernando Alonso who's going to take it to the next level. Biggest issue, of course, is will the driver dynamics, in the fact that Lance Stroll is there, of course, have an effect. You know, we've got Fernando Alonso, who's the world champion, who is a world champion, and Lance Stroll, who, don't get me wrong, all credit to him, is a very good driver, but nonetheless is there mainly based off of family connections more than anything else. So one is going to have to wonder, you know, Lance Stroll will be made the number 1 driver, Fernando Alonso not necessarily. So will they be able to tactically play it out, and will they work well as a team? That is all the information that we're going to find out this weekend, of course. So looking at the selected tire compounds, as I say, it was the C1, the C2, and the C3. So the interesting tire selection. That's basically just the slightly softer tires. That is, of course. So the conditions right now is 27 degrees Celsius. Track temperature is 42 degrees Celsius. 11% humidity, and the wind is currently 12.6 kilometers northwesterly. So very normal conditions for Bahrain. It is midday, of course. The temperatures drop quite dramatically later on in terms of air temperature. Track temperature, on the other hand, not too much. So it's much better, of course, to get quicker times in the evening in Bahrain than it is during midday. So this will very much be practicing the track in terms of getting some good, decent lap times in, and just getting a good feel for the track, whereas qualifying and practice 2 is where you'll see the quicker times. So those will be the more interesting sessions to watch for pace, because we are finally going to see some genuine pace from all of the teams today. They're not going to be trying to test out new things and trying to see how the car should be fitted. They've done all of that. That was last week. Now we are going to see them try to put genuine pace into these cars and get around the circuit as quickly as possible, get a good practice and feel for how they're going to approach the race on Sunday. Good crowd is here in Bahrain. Main grandstand, not quite 100% full, but certainly getting there. The pits are looking very busy at the moment as we are getting very, very close to the start of practice 1. Max Verstappen is inside his car, helmet on, and everything ready. We've got the computer screens on the car already, as you have got so used to, of course, in recent years, with regards to all those stats being shown to the drivers and where they can improve in sectors, etc. So, very interesting helmet for Max Verstappen this week. He's got player 00 on the side of his helmet there. He's got a very interesting logo right at the top of it. Here we're looking at also the other big news of the weekend, that of Lance Stroll getting into his car in the Aston Martin. He is going to be racing today after having minor surgery on his hands. We are looking at his hands. It's quite interesting there. I think I can see a small little cut on his wrists there. So he did have a small cycling accident, and he does indeed have a little bandage there on his hand where they might well have done minor surgery. So very interesting that, of course, it was looking very unlikely that he was going to race this weekend, but he is indeed going to be doing the Bahrain Grand Prix in an Aston Martin. So all the teams starting with their number one drivers. So all to race for, I was going to say place for, but all to race for. Charles Leclerc here, we're looking at the Ferrari as well. He's looking in the zone. Now looking at the McLaren here, it's Oscar Piastri, his debut weekend, of course, in this orange McLaren. This McLaren, that's also, as I say, it's testing the new interesting technology when it comes to advertising. It's got that very cool little matte black screen which changes sponsors during the race. Might be a little off-putting for the driver. You know, you will see it a little bit out the corner of his eye. So we'll see how that goes and where the teams follow suit. Fernando Alonso now looking at him, looking very comfortable in his Aston Martin. And cars are now going out to the pit lane, and they are waiting, and practice is underway. The 2023 season is officially underway, and as you can see, the board is moving, everything is happening, and yeah, we have got cars going out onto track, and yeah, nobody's really staying behind. We're all moving out. A lot of cars here. Oh, there's been a late pull-off here by the McLaren. Very interesting there. One of the McLarens has just pulled off before leaving the pits. The other McLaren has done the same thing. Very interesting, of course. I don't quite know what's happened there, so we'll find out now. George Russell not in his car yet, so he's just waiting a little bit of time. Mercedes not quite as quick as the rest yet in terms of getting out. But we do have Alex Albon leading the charge around the track, the first practice session of 2023. So, of course, practice session one, we've got an hour left. Well, 59 minutes now already. As we see both of the Alpines, these very, very pink Alpines, both of them join the track as well to go around. And we just see a couple of practice starts there at the end of the pit lane there. And so Alpine doing a little bit of testing, we see. So, yeah, we see Ocon there with the rear, you know, it's a bit of testing still being happening from Alpine here in this practice session. They're utilizing it to test a little bit. They've got the rear brackets on, those aerial brackets to monitor where the air is going and the airflow for the car. So Ocon has got that in the back of his car already. So they're going to go and test out that still. And Lewis Hamilton, we see, is getting into his car with his bright, bright yellow helmet. And this year, supporting a lot of what Vettel was supporting throughout his racing career. He's got the whole pride flag on the top of his helmet there. Very bright there, nonetheless. Of course, Lewis Hamilton, very well known for making statements and being an advocate for change in certain areas and things like that. So he will be wearing that helmet. Max Verstappen still inside his car at the moment in that Red Bull pit. They do look like they're getting very much ready to go. All the people on the tires ready to take the blankets off, and he will get back out onto track. We do now have the start of some hot laps. Albon is now going around, of course, leading the charge with regards to that, and we will start to see some times hit the board. Perez so far with the fastest second sector. Don't concern yourself too much with the times as of yet. They will change as we go along. But as I say, people, if you've just joined us on this channel, please do give us a like, give us a subscribe, participate in the poll, chat. Please do say something in the chat box. Go and tell your thoughts on the race, or on the practice at least, and just ask me questions. I'm here. That's the whole point. It's the difference with this stream. You will be talking to us directly. We will participate with you. That's the whole point. We are interactive. Do chat with us. We will respond to every comment as best we can. So, yeah, who are we supporting and what's going to happen this weekend? Right now, I'm just following De Vries here in the AlphaTauri, of course, another rookie going into this weekend. Although some people say not really a rookie, of course, because he did step in last season, but it's basically a rookie. It's his proper first Formula One season. And he gets a Sector 1 here. I want to see a Sector 1 time. He clocks here, and he's just got completed the sector. So he completes the sector in We'll eventually get there. We're just tracking time eventually, apparently. But the sector 1 time there, I think you can see that at a 30.99, so not too bad. Perez right now putting in the fastest sectors. His purple sectors are going in right now. And we still have 4 drivers not on track yet. That's Verstappen, Stroll, Hamilton, and Russell. So both Mercedes drivers not out onto track yet. Of course, everybody still believes, 100% believes, that Mercedes is somehow sandbagging still. I hope so, because the pace wasn't looking brilliant in preseason testing. Let's see when they go back up into track now. They're still in the pits, so we'll be very interested to see what happens there. A couple of cars already coming back in, so into the pits, that of Albon and Sergeant Bottas, I think, has also rejoined the pits. So we'll start to see some times from other drivers as well. Hulkenberg is in the pits as well now. Ocon has also found himself back in the pits. I think they were just testing for wind maybe with those rear brackets just to see what's happening there. And Perez has put in the fastest time. We see a 1:35.069. So, of course, in preseason testing, we saw most of the cars get around 1:32. So we'll see whether or not we'll improve on those times. Just look at the chat here. As I say, where is everybody watching from? I'd love to know where you're watching from in the world. Where in the world are you joining us? DNK space is SW. I'm only going to do that because I have absolutely no idea how you want to pronounce that. Hamilton is allowed to wear his nose stud. Cannot see whether or not he's got that nose stud in. I will confirm that with you. I'll try and best find out for you. And we'll get back to you on that little comment there. We'll be very interested, of course, to see if he does get allowed. So we look here. Meanwhile, following, I believe this is Perez. Yes, indeed, Perez, who is only sitting second now, as Alonso's put in a quick lap of 1:35.048. So, as I say, Alonso's still keeping up with that Aston Martin trend at the moment, which is everybody saying they're really going to put the pedal to the metal and let's move, essentially. Dominic here, Diane saying he's watching from Australia. Nice to have you, Aussie mate. Very keen to have you on the stream. Please do be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and comment. Very keen to make some relationships with some commenters, of course. Ask us questions. Let's get some good engagement going. We have a lot of fans in our other sports that we cover. Of course, Forever Sports covers a range of sports. So if you guys are interested, be sure to look at our other videos as well. DMK, you made a message and then you retracted it. Why? I want to see what the question was. Nonetheless, we're going here. Seeing Verstappen is out on track and is now starting his fast lap. So let us see how he fares. We're just going to follow him now. I'm just going to commentate as it goes. Looking very smooth in that car right now, reaching speeds of 280, 90, 300 kilometers before he heavy brakes into turn 3 or turn 4, I think it is. He's now going into those little windy turns before coming up to the dangerous turn 10, of course. That going into the third DRS zone. So looking very comfortable right now, Verstappen. He's not put in the quickest first sector, but a decent quick first sector nonetheless. Let's see if he can beat Alonso's second sector. Alonso set a 1:11.35. Let's see if he can beat that. Verstappen now approaching that. He's on that third DRS zone. DRS flap is open, rear wing open, and he moves into that fast braking zone. And he's on mediums right now, Verstappen. So doing his practice on mediums. Will he beat Alonso now? Coming up to Alonso's time. 1:10, 1:11, and does not. He's just 0.33 seconds behind Alonso's time. I do believe Alonso did his lap on mediums as well. Verstappen there passing a Ferrari on his quick lap, whilst also another Ferrari, I can't see who it is also starting their fast lap as well. And Verstappen comes onto the main straight. Let's see how he fares for his time. I think this should go second fastest. 34, 35. A third fastest lap. So 1:35.429, as you can see on that screen there. So very interesting there. Luigi, I think it is, saying, hi, Luigi from England. Haha, trying to watch this in my lecture. Oh, yes, definitely watch F1. Lectures are for losers. We don't study, we watch F1. That is what we do. Mohammed asking, where is the video? Now, if you guys are interested and you want to try and watch, if you look in the description of the channel, we've got a little video there explaining exactly how you can watch this live along with us, of course. So be sure to look at the description in the video. It explains exactly how you can do that. So yeah, be sure to go and do that. DNK just saying, just read that on Sky Sports F1 as well. If Sky Sports F1 is saying that he is wearing his his nose ring or nose stud, then he must be wearing his nose stud. So that is very interesting, of course, to note, because last year Lewis Hamilton got in a bit of trouble, of course, for wearing the nose stud because they deemed it a medical problem should he get to the car and it'll prove a problem. There we see Oscar Piastri, the first car I see just having a little bit of blips. Turn 7, I think it is, at the end of it. Just took a bit of a drift there, and Piastri on the radio, they're saying, "Is the car okay?" He says, "Yep, all okay, just had a snap." So yeah, just a snap there in the car. Just went around a little bit too quickly and just drifted off the track slightly. So Oscar Piastri there with a small mistake, of course. We will, of course, keep following all of the various drivers as they go through these practice sessions. Only an hour, these practice sessions, so not actually as much time as you think there is. And we've got just 50 minutes left. Charles Leclerc moves up into 5th with a 1:36.335. Alonso still with the quickest time so far, and a little bit of a fair margin, 0.3 seconds, or sorry, not 0.3 seconds, but relatively quick. It's not a slow lap at all. But we will see how he fares, as I say. Stroll is still not out yet. There's no time for Stroll yet. Bottas, Zhou, Ocon, Hulkenberg, Magnussen, Stroll, Hamilton, and Russell all do not have times behind their names as of yet. But Hamilton is indeed on track, so we will try and see whether or not he gets a decent lap in as well. I'm in England, and DNK is for my middle name, Duncan. Okay, so Dunk, I'm going to call you Duncan now for now on. Okay, cool. That's absolutely fantastic. So Piastri, they're putting in a decent time there, fifth position, 1:36.2. It's not brilliant, but of course, a little bit of early signs just saying hopefully McLaren's not too slow. Norris also there in 7th currently. Of course, if you just go through that grid on my right-hand side, probably for the screen, be the left-hand side for you guys. It says Alonso, Perez, Verstappen, Gasly, Piastri, Leclerc, Norris, Sainz, Tsunoda, De Vries. That's your current top 10. Luigi here saying, what are your qualifying predictions? Oh, well, that is a very interesting question. I actually reckon that I'm going to back Red Bull to be quickest, I think, in qualifying. I think Verstappen gets that qualifying, but I think Alonso is going to be there and thereabouts. I think he's going to really push it. Alonso, of course, did very, very well in an underpowered car last year, and now he's in a quicker vehicle and really put in some brilliant qualifying times last year. So I'm going to say Verstappen, Alonso, and Leclerc are 3 quickest. After that, it's going to be a very interesting look. I think Sainz will obviously be there and thereabouts. Perez there and thereabouts. And if the Aston Martin is as quick as people say, Lance Stroll will surely have to be in the shout near the top as well. Stevie P there, of course, channel partner Stevie P there, one of the presenters, saying, will Aston Martin do enough this weekend to convert me into a fan? Hashtag Fernando the GOAT. Well, I think Fernando Alonso going to Aston Martin has certainly increased their interest in Aston Martin. Not that they couldn't have done too badly with Sebastian Vettel, of course, not the Vettel fans. But now, of course, I'll get there eventually. Fernando Alonso just joining the Aston Martin team as well should surely make them an interesting team to watch as well. I'm a very big Aston Martin fan. I'd love to see how they do this season. It does look like they've got a very quick car. And whilst their livery is a bit disappointing compared to last year, not much changing, it is still quite a pretty car to see on track, and that beautiful green that they've got. Here, seeing a comment here from Sun. I have no clue. I do apologize. I can't see the surname very clearly, and I don't want to try it in case I mess up completely. I do apologize. But nonetheless, your views on the Merc's performance so far? Well, of course, it's practice now, so we'll see how they perform. Hamilton there putting in a 4th fastest lap so far, 1:35.46. So really not too bad at all. And everybody's pretty much on mediums at the moment. So it's not the quickest pace we'll see from all these cars yet. But certainly putting the Mercedes there and thereabouts so far with the times in these opening 13 minutes. Of course, in preseason testing, everyone was saying they looked a little slow. But people still reckoning somehow they're sandbagging. So we'll see whether or not they are this weekend. Shabir, saying where to watch free F1. You just look in the description of the channel. Just go look at the description of this video. It's literally got a video there that goes and says how to watch the Bahrain Grand Prix, and it gives you a whole explanation on exactly how you can do it. You can also watch a video that we've also made that helps you understand how you can watch this for free. And that goes for everybody, of course, how to watch F1 for free. Go and look at the description of the video, and then you can turn that on. You can still have me alongside, and we can talk about the race and watch this all together. Very keen to see that. Of course, everybody, please do let us know where you're watching from. Getting some good comments now and good interaction. So let's keep it up. Tell me where you're watching from and your predictions for the race, of course. right now I'm just following Bottas here. He's going down, coming into the final straight, I believe. No, yeah, he is going into the final straight now. Looking quite quick. He's improved on all his sector times. He should get over in about a 136 something. Indeed, he goes over at a 137.1. It's just a little bit slow. So not too bad, though, for Bottas in 11th, of course, on medium tyre. Sargent currently out on the hard tyre, pushing in some all right lap times as well. So Perez, of course, has now taken that pole position in terms of quickest time around the track. He has done those in mediums, I believe, in a 134.3. Alonso is, however, currently out. And we'll see if he can improve upon those times as well. Russell now also making his way out into track, and we'll see if he can get a decent time in as well. Stroll still in the pits. That's also the very interesting thing. Stroll coming in this weekend. Everybody thought it would be, it would not be Stroll. I didn't think he'd make it in, but Stroll is here today. So he's still not going onto track though. So that's always very interesting. Russell does put in the time now and pushed him right up into 6th place in a 136.083. So on medium tires, these Mercedes looking a little bit better today so far. In 15 minutes, I say we see very, very little of them, but they are looking a little stronger. So very keen to see how that all carries on. Yeah, so just watching here, looking here at everybody. Hamilton's on an outlap right now. We're looking at James Vowles, the team principal for Williams. Of course, Williams now instructing Sargent, the American, and Alex Albon, of course. So two very talented drivers. Will Williams do something this weekend? We're just following here Max Verstappen making, I think, a small mistake here. We're just following a replay of him here. And does have a little slide coming out of one of the DRS zones. Not too big a slide, but a little bit. Losing a little bit of control, just a bit too much pace into the corner, but that Red Bull still recovers so well, and that Red Bull really looking like a good car this year. And Louis here saying, hey, does anyone have a link to the F1 streams? Again, I'll keep referencing it. Please look in the channel description. You will see exactly how to watch this F1 alongside me right now. If you go and look at the description, there's a video. It shows you exactly how you can watch alongside for free as well. So be sure to go and look at that. So helping out everybody, of course, fans across the world. So right now we've got a Red Bull, Aston Martin, Red Bull, Mercedes, and then Alpine in our top 5 so far. That is Pierre Gasly, of course, in the Alpine. Yeah, very keen to see how Alpine do this year. Of course, with some very good drivers in Ocon and Gasly. So I'm actually very interested to see how Gasly does this year in that Alpine. Will he be able to put in some challenging qualifiers, and will he push for pole, or at least in the top 3 near the top of the grid in qualifying sessions in that Williams? It's not the Williams, in the Alpine. We will of course watch. So just following here, the two Haas's, of course, Hülkenberg back in Formula 1 here, puts in a decent time, a 135.8. However, it is on softs, the first soft tire time. And only in 6th, so still behind the Alpine, the Merc, the Red Bull, and the Aston Martin, who all did their times on medium tires. So that, of course, is not particularly quick then for Haas. They're on that soft tire, and it's not putting that quick a time. And we just see Magnussen now also crossing the line, and he goes into 3rd. Same thing, though. He's also on the soft tires, so just trying to put some soft tire laps in. And not too slow, of course, but not brilliant. Gunther Steiner not looking very phased, but he's nodding his head right now. He's listening to one of his team telling us things, just nodding his head to that. So it doesn't look too concerned, nor does it look too happy at the moment. We're now looking at Toto Wolff and Mick Schumacher, of course. Mick Schumacher, reserve driver for Mercedes AMG this year. He's also a reserve driver for McLaren by association. But Toto Wolff, of course, looking as unfazed as ever, team principal for Mercedes AMG. And of course, if any of you have watched Drive to Survive, he had a full-on go at all team principals and really lost his head with it. So very interesting that, of course, having a big fight there. If you guys haven't watched Drive to Survive yet, do be sure to go and have a look at that, of course. So we've got about 190 people watching us, almost 200 people. Invite your friends, tell everybody on the other streams to come across here. Let's have some chats, let's have some discussions. Of course, we are aiming to be the best stream to be on in Formula One. So please be sure to come and stay here And of course, like the channel, subscribe to the channel. We'll be doing videos and previews and live shows and all these various videos on the channel. Of course, we're going to bring you the best F1 coverage you possibly can. And you guys are all part of it. The whole point is that you guys can interact with us and we can actually listen to you where you won't get lost in the crowd with most others. Yeah, so Forever Sports, they're just reiterating people in the comments. That is how you can go and watch the current practice and the entire Grand Prix weekend for free. Just go and watch that video there, done by Steve, of course, who tells you exactly how you can do all of that. Just watching a replay here of the Ferrari, looking at that rear wing, really moving around a lot as it goes over a chicane there. It's very, very bouncy, that rear wing. I think that's a slight concern for Ferrari because that's another component now that seems to be moving around a lot compared to what they should be. Of course, Ferrari under a new team principal this year. We'll be very interested to see how they do. Oscar Piastri now looking at him. He's in the pits. The tires are off. The car is on its stilts. He's still in the car just analyzing some things and some data. We've got 40 minutes left of this practice session. So, yeah, still quite a bit of time for these guys to go and put in some decent lap times. Hamilton has moved into third, meanwhile, with the medium tire on, only 0.8 seconds behind Perez's 134.3 in the medium. So Merck seemingly finding a little bit of pace at the moment. Verstappen has also found himself in the pits alongside Gasly and Alonso and Perez as well. So Magnussen currently sitting fourth, but he did do that time on softs. So that is the very important piece of information to understand. Luigi here saying the team principal session on Drive to Survive was hilarious. I need more of that content. Toto going off with Gunther giggling with Mattia in the corner. I was about to say it's very good content. Of course, every time you watch Drive to Survive, just remember they do dramatize a lot of the stuff. Nonetheless, very interesting stuff to go and watch there, and some very funny moments, as is with that one where Toto Wolff just loses it, and the whole team principal session was just brilliant to watch, of course. And lots of other very interesting things to go and watch in that series, of course. Felipe Ivich here, I think it's Ivich, I'm going to assume it's Ivich, he's got that little thing on the C, saying, why is Ferrari so slow? Tires or the wing? Well, Ferrari at the moment haven't really been out on track all that much, so you don't have to be too concerned. Obviously on mediums. And the wing does look like it's moving around a lot, but nonetheless, these Ferraris were showing some good pace in the preseason testing. I'm sure they'll find the pace as the practice session goes along. So you don't have to be too concerned as of yet. The wing did look a little weird that it was all shifting around all over the place, a lot more than the other drivers. Nonetheless, I'm sure they will be fine. Yeah, we'll see how they do when they come back out. I'm hoping to see a Ferrari back out on track very, very soon. So right now we've got Hamilton, Magnussen, Hülkenberg, Russell, Ocon, Albon, and Tsunoda, Zhou, Bottas, De Vries out on track, doing some lap times for us all. Stroll has finally made a lap time, of course, but he's gone back into the pits. It's only a 2 minute and 3. So I don't quite know what's happening with Stroll as of yet. Of course, the big thing was the fact that he did manage to race this weekend. Maybe it might have been a poor decision. Maybe his hands haven't actually fully recovered from that cycling accident. So far, not showing the best information in this practice session so far. Almost 25 minutes gone in this practice session, and he's not really done a decent time yet. So we'll see how he can fare now. McLaren, here we're seeing the McLaren, I believe it's on Oscar Piastri. It's getting fixed already, so something's come loose. I can see screwdrivers are out. And we're just having a look here at the reserve driver for Aston Martin, Stoffel van Duren. He is a reserve driver for Aston Martin as well. Felipe Drugovich, of course, also there, the other reserve driver, and the more likely of the two to fill in for Lance Stroll. And right now, I think he might well be having a look at this. I don't know if there's issues with Lance Stroll's car or if perhaps there's issues with him, but nonetheless, he's not come out onto the track yet, really. So very interested to see what happens there. What do you guys think? The fact that Lance Stroll has come in to actually race this weekend. Do you think it's premature that they brought him in? Of course, he is the main driver. He's the main driver for Aston Martin. He's one of the two main drivers, so he should be racing. But he did have an accident. Wasn't that long ago. He didn't participate in preseason testing. Should he be racing this weekend, or should he have waited for the next race? Some very big a call there by Aston Martin, of course. and they're having a big look at Lance Stroll's car and working on it a lot. So clearly something has either gone wrong with the car, or they're having a look at some things, or just preparing the car still. But that Lance Stroll Aston Martin has not made its way out the track properly yet. However, Alonso's has, and has done very well. So I'm sure they're going to be keen to get that car going as soon as possible. So yeah, we're almost halfway through practice session 1, and I am going to be joined by another presenter very shortly. That is of Reese, of course, probably the best expert we've got on the channel in terms of Formula One. He really does know everything and anything when it comes to Formula One. A very avid Formula One fan, as we all are, of course, but certainly takes it to the next level in terms of his understanding of what happens. And we will be bringing Reese in very shortly. And I do think we've got Reese over here. Hello, Reese.
Hello. Hope everyone is enjoying the first day of cars back out on track. The season has now officially started. Very exciting to see cars back out in Bahrain.
Yes, and I say we look at the times right now, Reese, and I think it's pretty much just reaffirming this whole thing with regards to Aston Martin, with regards to Alonso's time. He's still currently sitting with the second fastest time, just behind that of Perez. Of course, this is just practice right now. It's the early stages of practice and midday practice. But Aston Martin's one car showing some very, very good results so far.
Yes, the car looking very competitive so far. I'm definitely quite happy. My predictions are obviously lining up a bit. So very happy to see that. Definitely think that we're going to have some close racing this weekend.
And of course, everybody in the comments, be sure to ask Reese some questions. Reese can also answer some of those questions, which I'm not able to. I can answer some, but Reese should be able to answer most. He is the most knowledgeable person we've got with regards to Formula One. Just looking at a replay here of Hamilton in his Mercedes. I'm not quite sure whether it's just cinematic replays or if we're just looking for some small error or something. But nonetheless, Hamilton, of course, has put himself into third. What do you make of that Mercedes seemingly keeping up with the pace now?
Yes, I mean, obviously still very early in the weekend, still possibly getting their setup perfect. But yeah, not on par with Aston Martin and Red Bull just yet, but just a little bit off right now.
Yeah, and as I say, I mean, we're very interested in these times going around. We've got Perez, Alonso, Hamilton, and Magnussen, the top four quickest drivers so far, all out on track, putting in some more lap times. Perez has done a time there on soft tires, I believe. He's on softs right now. So I'm very interested to see how the soft tire times work. And do you have an idea of the sort of differences in times we should see between the soft and medium tire?
Well, there's quite a big difference you can get from, I mean, just playing the Formula One games, you can see that the soft tires are normally over a second quicker than the mediums. So there's definitely a lot of performance that are in those soft tires compared to the mediums.
Yeah. As I said, we're looking at these teams now starting to trial and starting to use those soft tires on track. Magnussen there, being that of the Haas, he did do his time in a soft tire, but still not quite as quick as the top three there on medium tires. So should they be concerned, Haas, or is that just to be expected for their sort of car performance?
I can't see exactly where they are at the moment. Will you tell me where they are?
So just Magnussen's there in fourth with a 135.4. Okay. He's literally a whole second behind Perez, who I believe did his time on mediums.
Well, once again, I'm going to go back to testing. You don't know what run plans they're busy doing. They may be doing some long runs for the race on Sunday. You never know. So it could just be that they're doing some heavy fuel runs with those soft tires, just seeing how they will survive on Sunday. But yeah, time's not looking too bad. But you would expect it to be quite a lot faster.
And Lance Stroll so far still not got out into the track yet, doing a lot of work onto the car. I think the timing that's on our board there is not actually necessarily correct. He might well have done a time to go around, but he came straight back into the pit, so it doesn't really count as a lap time. I think that's what it was. Nonetheless, he's not actually done a lap yet. So your concerns there, of course, coming in last minute where he actually has decided he's going to race this weekend?
Well, my biggest concern for him would just be getting comfortable in that car. Obviously, he's had no run time during testing, like Fernando Alonso and Felipe Drugovich had. He would be wanting to utilize every minute of the session, never mind every minute, every second. He's really on the back foot compared to all the other drivers out here this weekend.
Yeah, and I mean, do we attribute the fact that Stroll has not actually got onto the track and got some laps under his name yet, due to the fact that he's trying to get that car ready? Do you think they've not actually managed to get that car all 100% for him yet?
Well, with these budget caps, sometimes you do see parts coming in for that second car that they build up. You do see those parts coming in at the last second. So it's possible that he's maybe getting the latest spec of that first car, or they are just battling some issues.
And Dominic there saying Ferrari on softs yet. I don't believe they are as of yet. They are still in the pits, but I'm sure we'll see some soft tire laps from Ferrari very soon as we go into the second half of practice now in Bahrain.
Yes, obviously still a lot of running ahead of us today with practice 1 and practice 2 happening. So far, we have the Red Bulls 1 and 2, Max Verstappen now putting in another fast lap, and then closely followed by Alonso on a set of mediums.
Oh, my word.
Quite interesting that Piastri is up in 4th.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting, of course, that. And I've just seen Perez putting in a very, very quick time, very competitive time alongside Verstappen, both of them on softs now, and just put in a 132.7, so a much quicker time than earlier, and Verstappen following that with a 133.3. So the Red Bulls now seemingly started to pull away from the pack and basically trying to encourage everybody else to put in some quicker times as well. So now a whole 2-second gap to Alonso on those medium tires. So Piastri up into
What's interesting for me, What's interesting for me to see is that Verstappen is 0.6 behind Perez at the moment. Obviously, we don't know what fuel levels they're on, but that is quite a big gap between the two on the same tire.
So it'd be very interested to watch both those laps back. Maybe Max Verstappen made a small mistake on a part of the track or otherwise. But we will, of course, see as a lot of these teams now starting to go out onto these soft tires to put in some laps. So very key to see the lap times now, as this is a very true reflection of the pace of these cars. And people, whilst you're, of course, here, we've got a lot of the people watching. Please be sure to like the video, subscribe, of course. Do just put a little like button there. It helps us all. And of course, aren't you just liking the stream right now? Come on, you've got to be honest with us. We've got 198 votes in the poll. Let's get a few more people liking the video as well. And be sure to subscribe as well. Ask us questions. We're very keen to answer as well. Tell us again, where are you watching from? And what are your thoughts on practice so far and your predictions for the season and indeed for this Grand Prix race? Reese, anything interesting you've seen in practice so far?
Unfortunately, I haven't been able to see too much as I've just finished working. But so far, I'm very impressed by Fernando Alonso. And obviously, that's quite a standout lap from Oscar Piastri at the moment. We didn't expect McLaren to be quite so high up.
And of course, McLaren have done that lap on softs, of course. So it is a little bit of an indicator there, putting himself into the mix with those in the medium tire laps. Of course, he is 2.2 seconds behind the Red Bull on those softs. Though that will be something very interesting to monitor as to whether or not McLaren can do anything. We haven't seen much of Norris so far in this practice session. We've not really panned across to him all that much. And just seeing here, Wade, I think it's Balfi. I'm going to assume that is that. So Forza Ferrari F Mercedes, and I think that's saying it's not quite a fan of Mercedes. So a Ferrari fan there in those comments there. So yeah, we'll see how the Ferraris fare. I'm sure we'll see Ferraris on
Ferrari are also quite a bit not lost, but just getting a bit lost in the session right now. Not really close to the top of the times on any of their tires so far.
Yeah, and we were looking at a couple of replays earlier, and we believe one of the small reasons why that might be is because their rear wing does seem to be shaking a little bit more than the other cars.
I see quite a lot of work happening on the rear end of the car, obviously happening within the power unit. It looks like, wow, just a replay happening at the moment of that rear wing. It's definitely oscillating a lot. That looks very unstable. That would be, if that happened on a Sunday, they would get DNF'd.
As I said, so that was the concern earlier, and that's the reason why people believe that the Ferraris are slow. So the rear wing was looking a little shaky there, and so they're just doing a lot of work on it right now to try and get it back into form. So it's very interesting that a couple of these errors are, of course, happening right now because, the whole thing with preseason testing is that's what you're supposed to avoid, especially when it's on the exact same race circuit. So it's a bit of a concern that these small issues are already creeping into Ferrari. We've seen already the nose divot, and now we're seeing a rear wing issue already. It's not even the first Grand Prix yet.
Yes, obviously you would have hoped to have found all of your issues during testing, but testing was so short this year. Normally they have at least 6 days of testing. Normally they go to Spain for 3 days or for a week, and then they come to Bahrain for another week. But with the new cost cap regulations, testing has been cut down even more.
Yeah, and of course, that should actually bring across more issues to these cars in terms of reliability. Fewer times to test the car means that there's more can go wrong as a result of lack of testing, of course. Louis here saying, what happened to the Ferrari? Is something wrong? As I say, we've been just going back to it. Is that rear wing is looking very shaky there. So the Ferrari engineer is doing a lot of work right now on the rear of that car just to try and balance it off. I mean, even with that rear wing issue, they still put in some all right times considering as a result. And then Kirbine saying, yeah, is the track wet? Well, I do enjoy that comment. That's quite funny, of course. We are in Bahrain. The likelihood for that, very unlikely. The track is very, very dry, of course, in the desert here of Bahrain. So, yeah, we'll see how Ferrari fares, if Ferrari can get that fixed as soon as possible so they can get some soft tire runs, of course.
Yes, really enjoying reading the comments so far. Please do leave us a comment down in the comment section. Please ask us any questions that you have. And as Mark said earlier, please leave your race predictions, your top 3 for us there, and we will read them out for you.
And not only that, but be sure to join the Forever Sports membership. Of course, you get exclusive benefits if you join membership. A lot of very, very cool things if you join the channel. It's not a lot of money at all, and you get a lot of very cool things along with it. So be sure to try and do that, and you can get some exclusive content, which we will bring to you, which nobody else gets to see. It makes you very important. It also gives you a little badge next to your name, so it makes you look very important in the comments, which you are, of course, if you are a member of Forever Sports. So be sure to go and have a look at that. Otherwise, subscribe to the channel. Do like the video, guys. Very, very key to have all of you stay. And we want to form relations with you throughout the entire season. Let's watch along all of these sessions together. Want to have a whole lot of friends here to watch along with.
Large Stroll has now just finished his first flying lap of the session. Nothing impressive, just putting him all the way down into 20th position right now.
Yeah, as I said, Lance Stroll, we were just watching him here. At least he is out on the track, which is, of course, a very, very good thing, but a very slow time as well, of course.
Great comment here from Wade Belthy. Please explain why Ferrari is the sexiest Formula One team. Gosh, I think we could talk for a while about that.
I mean, quite apart from anything else, I think we saw it in last year's livery, which they pretty much copied into this year. That Ferrari red that they brought back is just looking absolutely beautiful. It's not as bright it's not as like pasty orange, pasty red as I used to call it. It's a really, really nice red right now, and also I mean it's Ferrari. It's so difficult to make that car look ugly.
I mean, my favorite quote from any Formula One journalists would be Bill Buxton's, "Tell a child to paint a race car and he'll paint it red." That just tells you the history of Ferrari.
100%. So just seeing a comment there from Sadie46 saying, what is sandbagging? Can you explain it to me?
Great question.
Reese, can you explain what is sandbagging to the audience?
Yes, I will try my best. So sandbagging is what a lot of teams do before the season starts, specifically in testing. They don't necessarily show the true pace of their car, so they just hold back a little bit, possibly running a little bit more on the high fuel load end. You don't necessarily want to show your full potential of your car during preseason testing. You want to maybe fool your competitors into thinking that they have a competitive car, and that is what sandbagging is used for. Mercedes have done it a lot over the years, where Ferrari went into testing on top of the timesheets thinking that they had the best car for that season, and then Mercedes would come into that first race and just absolutely dominate.
Yeah, and I think we might well see that again this weekend. As we just see a replay here of Lando Norris, who we've not really talked about much in this practice session so far. Just seeing him go straight off there from the start-finish straight, main straight there. Just took it very, very late and unfortunately missed the turn and had to turn back around. So a little bit of rustiness there for Lando Norris. So we'll be interested to watch him. Right now, he's not sitting with very good times and needs to improve, I think.
Just watching Carlos Sainz at the moment on a fast lap on a set of mediums, looking very neat and tidy. Coming out of turn 4, though, with a little bit of a wobble on the rear end. Obviously still just getting to grips with that car. Whoa, big spin from him. Will he hit into the barriers? No, he just manages to catch that car before the gravel trap. Wow, that was
Biggest moment.
lot of
the
energy
track
going
so
through that
far,
car.
100%. That Ferrari there just taking a big spin, as you say. My word.
That will definitely hit his confidence a little bit going into qualifying. He'll be thinking of that for the rest of the session today, for sure.
Oh, my word, big spin. As you say, just watching back this replay here, it does manage to stop the car in time. It does control it quite nicely after that spin, nonetheless. But certainly a very interesting talking point there. A lot of smoke billowing out from those tires as a result. And yeah, we'll be very interested to see how he'll probably have to take that car back to the pits now as a result.
Yes, he's most likely, quite badly flat spotted them.
Yeah. And unfortunately, people, I'm going to have to, well, I don't mean unfortunate that way, but I'm going to have to leave. But you are in very, very capable hands, very good hands, of course. Reese will take you through the rest of this practice session. Be sure to ask him questions. Of course, he will answer all of them. Just quickly here, Wade Balthy saying, are the times representative? What time is it in Bahrain? Bahrain is an hour ahead of my time right now. So it's, what's the timing?
3 p.m. over there, 10 past 3 right now.
Correct. Thank you very much. So, yeah, I'm going to leave you in Reese's hands. Reese is going to take you through and just chat with all of you. Of course, be sure to ask some comments. And I'm very keen to be with all of you later, of course, for the next practice session. I'm going to be off, and you will be with Reese. And Reese, thank you so much for commentating. And, yeah, enjoy the rest of practice one, as I'm sure I will as well.
So, great question here coming in from Sadie46, just saying, thank you for explanation. Thank you for your explanation. Is sandbagging considered cheating? No, sandbagging isn't considered cheating. Obviously, teams are now restricted to a single engine mode, so they don't necessarily have different engine modes that they're using throughout that session to hold back a bit. It's just the drivers aren't necessarily going flat on the accelerator, or they are just, they're just filling the car with extra fuel. It's definitely not considered cheating. It's more of a strategy, as DNKSW is saying, no, it's just a part of the game. I agree with that. It's just a part of Formula One, just trying to hide your progress over the winter break, and then showing your true form on the first race weekend. Glad to hear that you now understand, Sadie. Just having a look at the Ferrari garage right now, a lot of work going on, happening on Carlos Sainz's car, obviously after that big spin, just checking the floor, making sure there isn't any damage. We still see them working on Charles Leclerc's car on the other side of the garage, though. Great to have so many people on the stream with us at the moment. Please do, if you are enjoying the stream, give us a like and subscribe to our channel so that you can watch more Formula One content with us. Lots of fans on the Ferrari at the moment, just cooling down those brakes. Obviously, they will be so red hot after that spin. Lando Norris now putting in a quick lap, putting himself up into third position, 1.4 seconds behind Sergio Perez at the moment. Obviously, from what Mark and I were speaking about earlier, haven't seen much from Lando so far. He has now shown us what he is capable of. Still a little bit off the pace of the Red Bulls. Obviously, Max is still quite a bit off the pace of Sergio Perez, but we shall see if he can improve that now as he is out on an outlap. Guan Yu Zhou at the moment putting in some green sectors for himself. Let's see where he can put himself in the standings with this lap. He is currently in P20. Welcome me to your YouTube family. I am here as a new subscriber, says Sadie46. Thank you very much for the subscription, Sadie. We are very happy to have you alongside us, and we hope to see you later on today for practice 2, as well as tomorrow for practice 3 and qualifying later in the evening. We will, of course, be going live for all of the sessions this weekend, as well as for the Formula 2 and Formula 3. Such an exciting weekend ahead of us with so much track action ahead. James P saying Red Bull looking very good, unfortunately. Obviously, we want to see people being nice and competitive out there. Bit difficult at the moment with Red Bull showing just so much dominance. Hopefully the likes of Aston Martin, Ferrari, and Mercedes will be able to reel them in just a little bit. Currently have a lot of cars out on outlaps. Right now we have Oscar Piastri, Sergio Perez, Charles Leclerc, George Russell, and Max Verstappen all on outlaps. So we should be seeing some new fast times coming up on the board very soon. I expect them all to be out on soft tires. Please, if you have any questions, let me know down in the comment section, and I will be responding to them all right now. Here goes Charles Leclerc on a fast lap. Let's see how his sector times fare. He is currently on a set of medium tires. Very clean into turns 1, 2, and now 3. DRS wide open for that main straight into turn 4. Once again, very neat, staying within track limits. A lot more stable on the rear end than Carlos Sainz as he goes now into turn 6 and 7. Right-hand braking zone into turn 8, looking very neat and tidy once again. Now into the double left-hander of 9 and 10. This is where Carlos Sainz lost it. Looking a lot more neat there. Hitting that apex into 10 as Formula 1 cuts the feed, of course. I'll just be watching the live times then instead, so I will let you know where that lap puts him. Currently, he has a personal best first and second sector, and the mini sectors are showing green at the moment, so that is very promising from Charles Leclerc. Currently down in P16. As he now puts himself up into 4th position with a 1:34.2. A very good lap on a set of mediums. Obviously, the track showing a lot of improvements at the moment with a lot more rubber being put down. Wade Bolte just saying, come on, Charles. Yes, definitely putting a good lap on those set of mediums. Ferrari looks like they have now sorted the issue with their rear wing. Did not look like it was bouncing around like it was earlier on. Very long season ahead of us, obviously with 23 races happening. I certainly know which one I'm looking forward to. Please let me know down in the comment section which is your favorite race of the season. I'm a bit biased. My favorite race of the season is going to be the Imola Grand Prix, purely for the reason that I am going to that race. It will be my first Formula 1 race that I'm going to watch. I'm definitely looking forward to it. Let me know down in the comment section if any of you are going to a Formula 1 race this season. George Russell currently out on a lap with a new personal best for him with a 1:35. Only putting him up into 11th position. Not very exciting from Mercedes so far. Obviously not where they would want to be right now. Still waiting for Max Verstappen to put in a faster lap right now. Currently not improving on any of his times, possibly just doing a double warm-up lap. Berke Gune saying, according to tests and now with first laps in practice, Alfa Romeo also have quite a lot of pace. What do I think? Yes, they are showing like they are quite competitive. Obviously, Guan Yu Zhou at the moment in 5th position. Out on, I think he was on a set of soft tires. I will have to double check that. But yes, looking very competitive out there this weekend. Great to see some of the midfield teams getting a lot more pace, hopefully fighting for race wins, possibly for podiums. That is what we want to see this year. That is why the FIA made those changes to the regulations with the floor, with regards to the floor, making the leading edge of the floor having to be about 15 millimeters higher to combat porpoising, obviously also just to level the playing field a little bit more. Wade Bolte saying Brazil and Bahrain are his favorite tracks. Brazil is definitely one of the best tracks out there as well. Such a classic track, such amazing sweeping corners, fast as well down that main straight, and amazing in the wet, if I do say. Just waiting for some more comments to come in while I wait for the streams to come back online. Just looking at the times though on the board, Kevin Magnussen now putting himself in 5th ahead of Guan Yu Zhou with a 1:34.4. A lot of green times out there at the moment, with Nico Hulkenberg down in 12th with a 1:35.0. Esteban Ocon putting himself into 14th position, as well as Fernando Alonso up in 8th. Wow, Fernando Alonso improving on his time and putting himself up into 2nd with a 1:33.1. I currently have it up on the board right now watching the live stream. Brilliant lap from Fernando Alonso, only 0.4 down on Sergio Perez's time. Just having a look at the Aston Martin garage right now with their mechanics looking on the screens. Obviously very impressed with that time that Fernando has put in there. I was a bit worried for McLaren earlier in testing, obviously having only seen them performing very far down in the timesheets, definitely showing that they have a lot more pace today. Certainly ahead of the Alpines, who they definitely want to outperform this year. Last year, just being beaten at the last race to 4th in the Constructors' Championships. Their goal for this year will be to come 4th or higher in the Constructors' Championship. That is for sure. Obviously, so much money goes to the team for every position that they make up, and they will be wanting to get every dollar that they can get. Just waiting for some cars to go on another fast lap. Hopefully, we will see Max Verstappen going on a fast lap soon. It looks like we have Pierre Gasly starting a fast lap right now. DRS wide open coming down the main straight. Just waiting for him to go into turn 1, see how this goes for him. A lot of brake dust coming off. He is on a set of medium tires, so we should not be seeing him going too far up the rankings, but let's see what he does for his first sector. Down the DRS straight, coming into turn 4 now. Obviously, that mini sector coming up very soon. Let's see what he puts in, if it is a personal best. No, not at all. 0.8 seconds down on his personal best first sector, so I don't think it will be too exciting to watch this lap of his right now. Sadie46 says, waiting for Lewis Hamilton to come out on track. Yes, I agree. I'm certainly wanting to see this car working better for Lewis Hamilton this year. I want to see him up in the top 3, fighting for podium positions, putting some pressure on the youngsters out there. Also, what I want from Fernando Alonso, that is for sure, putting some pressure and bringing the game to these youngsters, showing them how it's done. Obviously, Fernando having so much experience, not only in Formula One, also in IndyCar as well as World Endurance Championships. Obviously winning one with Toyota. Pierre Gasly still on that lap, not improving on his times at all with yellow first and second sector. If anyone is new to Formula One, please do ask questions. I am more than happy to answer anything that you have. Well, any questions that you have, Formula One related, of course. I would be very happy to help you out. We see Lando Norris on a lap at the moment, just in the mini screen right now, showing very neat and tidy, coming out of turn 10 into the tricky section of turn 11, 12, and 13. Looks like he is going a bit slow, so possibly on an out lap right now. As we see Pierre Gasly improving on his time, putting himself into 16th. Lewis Hamilton now up into 9th position. As we see in the background of Lawrence Stroll, we see the Red Bull of Max Verstappen just warming up his tires. Wade Balthy saying, who is your favorite current driver and favorite of all time? Wow. Difficult questions being asked here. At the moment, obviously such a polarizing character. Max Verstappen. I just enjoy how dominant he is out on track. Obviously, reminding me a lot of Michael Schumacher, who is possibly one of my all-time favorite drivers. Obviously, with Fangio as well as Ayrton Senna, so difficult to compare them. Obviously, driving in such difficult or different times with different cars, and just the way the seasons ran so differently back then. Torin currently asking, where is Hamilton? Hamilton, let me just check the timesheets for you. Hamilton is in 9th position, 2.1 seconds off of the lead time right now, obviously only setting his times on a set of mediums. Magnussen is ahead because he is on a set of softs. That is why at the moment. So currently the best times on mediums are Charles Leclerc in 5th place, Lance Stroll in, sorry, not Lance Stroll because it just updated and said he's on a set of softs. So the current fastest medium times are Charles Leclerc in 5th, Hamilton in 10th, and Russell in 11th. So obviously quite a big gap between the performance of those mediums and the softs. Please do let us know as well in the comment section where you come from. Obviously, I am from South Africa myself. Big Formula One fan here. Been watching since I was quite small. Obviously, Formula One being such a popular sport over in Europe, I'm sure we will have a few people out from Europe in our comment section. Currently, not many people out on fast laps, just a bit of a lull in activity out on track. Lots of cars out there, just most people on either out laps or some warm down laps right now. 214 people currently watching the stream with us. Thank you for joining us. Please do drop a like and a comment down in the comment section, as well as please subscribe to our channel if you want to see more content from us. We will be live streaming all of the different sessions throughout the race weekend, as well as Formula 2 and Formula 3. Currently, Alexander Albon is putting in a faster lap for himself with a fastest, well, personal best first and second sector with green mini sectors in sector 3. Jacob Max Gherkin saying, what do you think about Jody Scheckter? Obviously, it was a bit before my time, so I didn't see him racing too much, but obviously such a famous South African Formula One racer. Obviously amazing to have had him in the sport. I will just be doing some research on him quickly. Yes, so Jody Scheckter was a South African Formula One racer from 1972 to 1980, winning the Drivers' Championship in 1979 with Ferrari. Obviously, being the only South African Formula One driver to win a championship is obviously very important to us as South Africans, as well as obviously being a great of the sport. Wade Bolt, he's saying, dropping a French flag down in the comments. Thank you for joining us from France, Wade. What are your thoughts on Oscar Piastri, says Cosima Serra di Cassano. Brilliant name. Yellow flag at the moment. Sorry, just interrupting myself there, but it is back green ahead. We shall see in a second what that is from, hopefully. Thoughts on Oscar Piastri? Obviously, he is so talented, just coming straight from Formula 2, one season in Formula 2, actually, winning in his rookie season as well. He's just so phenomenal out on track, and it took such a long time to get him into Formula 1. I was very surprised. Great to have him in now. Obviously, very polarizing what happened last year between him, Alpine, and McLaren. Obviously, him feeling that McLaren had offered him a better contract, and Alpine were taking too long to get him into the sport, so he looked elsewhere for a contract. Some people personally don't believe that what he did was correct, but unfortunately, Formula One is such a cutthroat sport, and if you believe that you deserve a seat and you are able to get in another team, you have to take your chances. Mohammed Bahatir Hasim saying, I am from Malaysia and watching Formula One since the late 1980s. Great to have you with us. Please do. I'm sure you have so much insight into the sport. If you have any insight, please do drop it down in the comment section. Please let us know who your favorite Formula One driver is. Sadie46 saying Hotstar didn't renew Formula One 2023 broadcasting. I don't know who Hotstar is, but yes, obviously Sky Sports taking over a lot of the coverage for Formula One worldwide at the moment. Currently, we have quite a few cars out on track. We have 1 minute left of the session. That session going very quickly. Obviously, this weekend will go very quickly with Formula One back again this weekend. Currently watching Alexander Albon out on track, not putting in any better sector times for himself. Our current top 10 is Sergio Perez in first position, Fernando Alonso, followed by Verstappen, Norris, Charles Leclerc, Lance Stroll, Kevin Magnussen, Guan Yu Zhou, Valtteri Bottas, and Lewis Hamilton in 10th position right now. Mohammed Bahatir Hassim saying his favorite Formula One driver is Ayrton Senna. Obviously, such a great of the sport with such an amazing legacy that he had left, so loved by all the people of Brazil. Oh, as we see Alexander Albon just being held back by McLaren over there, getting very wide into turn 13. Session is now up. He was not improving on his lap time, but he will not be very impressed by being held up by that McLaren. I could not see who the driver of the McLaren was, but yes, not very impressed, I'm sure. As the session is now over, clock ticking over there to 0 with the finish flag being shown now. Very interesting to see that when the McLaren comes down to the end of that main straight, we see a bit of a puff of smoke coming off of it. I don't think that's from the engine. I think it may be the skid blocks on the bottom of the car. So our finishing order for practice 1 for the Bahrain Grand Prix in Sakhir is Sergio Perez in first position with a finishing time of, well, his last time was a 1:37.8, but his best time was a 1:32. Sergio Perez is closely followed by Fernando Alonso and Max Verstappen to round off your top 3. Then following Lando Norris, Charles Leclerc, Lance Stroll, Kevin Magnussen, Guan Yu Zhou, Valtteri Bottas, Lewis Hamilton in 10th, George Russell 11th, Oscar Piastri, Yuki Tsunoda, Nico Hülkenberg, Esteban Ocon, Nick de Vries, Pierre Gasly, Logan Sargent, Alexander Albon, and Carlos Sainz in 20th position. Obviously, Carlos Sainz just having some work done to his car after that spin in the middle of the session. Bruce Kirby saying he's from South Africa. Thank you for joining us, Bruce. Hopefully, we will see you in the second section as well today. Yes, thank you, Mohammed. We will see you in the second section later today. Please do join us. Please drop a like. Obviously, 166 people watching right now with only 20 likes. Please, let's get that up before we end the stream. As well as, please do subscribe to all of our channels here on Forever Sports. We also have Forever Motorsports, Forever Extra, where we do some gaming. Last night, we did a fun Formula One live stream, which we certainly had a very good time doing. Just going to hang on for a few more minutes till the last of the cars go back into the pits. Let me know what you thought of that practice session down in the comments. Obviously, it is only practice 1 right now. Wade Balti saying, thanks for the stream. Take care. Say hi to the Unfoot for me. I don't know them personally, but I will do. Last car out on track is Fernando Alonso. Just a replay here of Alex Albon catching that McLaren. I think it may be an Oscar Piastri. Oh, just getting so close there down into turn 13, almost coming together. Not necessarily what you want so early on in the weekend is a crash. Definitely glad that they were able to keep apart. But there will probably be some words after the session. We see people lining up at the moment for some practice starts. Just the last few now on the line, just getting their clutches ready for Sunday, just getting that feel for the takeoff. Sadie46 saying, see you, gotta go catch you later. Thank you for joining us, Sadie, on this stream. We will see you hopefully on another stream this weekend. On board at the moment with Max Verstappen. Let's see this race start from him. Revs are up. Looking nice and clean from that race start. Very clean, no wheel spin. Just running down the gears now. Sadie saying love from India. Thank you very much, Sadie. We will see you later this weekend, hopefully. That will be it from me, though, today, guys. I will see you in the second session. Thank you very much for joining us. This has been Forever Motorsports. Please do like our leave a like on our stream, as well as a subscribe if you are interested in following us some more over the race weekend. We will be live streaming all of the practice sessions, as well as qualifying and the race. We hope to see you in one of our other sessions. Cheers.